Look, guys, as much as I love big guitar companies, big pedal companies, for me, the most exciting thing about this industry as a whole is when you get a chance to meet small builders, small manufacturers that really put their heart and soul into everything they do. And because they don't have those crazy overheads, those corporate guidelines, they don't give a crap. And so what do? Just what they want. And that's exactly what we want. So having said that, today's video is the first of a series of 2 exploring some incredible boutique handmade guitar pedals that you won't find in those big companies. These are rare, one-of-a-kind, made-to-order pedals with incredible research behind them and super cool components. So let's get on and look at Hubcap John's guitar pedals. Let's do it. Who the is Hubcap John? Well, I can tell you, he is an incredibly talented guitar pedal maker based in the UK, making one-off handmade guitar pedals ranging from modified fuzzes, overdrives, treble boosters, everything that kind of gave the early 60s, 70s that exciting sound. A lot of these vintage pedals that now go for tons of money, he is now making his own modified genius version of them with incredibly researched parts and really at a very affordable price if you think that everything is handmade. One of the defining characteristics of his pedals are not only how awesome they sound, but also how awesome they look. And the first pedal is the mighty El Duderino. Some of you, hopefully with a culture, will get the reference. Super cool reference to one of the most fun films ever made, and absolutely beautiful. The El Duderino, God, I love saying that name, is a mid-gain overdrive pedal, but it's also a lot, and trust me on this one, more than that. This pedal is based on a vintage modified Super amp and is actually 2 pedals in one. Essentially, what you have is the main part, which is the El Duderino here, and then you have the Walter side. The Walter side is an additional boost that you can add, but also it has an octave up function, which is controlled by this knob here. So you can dial it in or out of your sound as required. You can switch both sides on or off independently from each other, and when they're both on, the main El Duderino side will feed into the Walter side. Although the names are different, as you can see, the pedal features all the usual controls such as volume, tone, and gain, allowing you to fine-tune your overdriven sound. Another little hidden bonus in this pedal is the clipping options. With this switch here, you have 3 options. You have LED clipping, diode clipping, or no clipping at all, which makes it slightly more transparent. All of this just adds a lot of flexibility to this pedal. You can really tailor it to your own personal preferences. As always in my videos, I also like to talk about the construction. Well, in this case, this is an incredibly robust pedal. It's made to be used on a pedal board. All the components are very high quality. Finally, in terms of power and dimensions, it is powered by a 9 volt, your usual standard Boss type wall plug, and it is slightly larger than a normal effects pedal, but it is compact and it fits very nicely on a pedal board. I think that's plenty of talking. What we need to do is just listen to the sounds. So I've got my Jet S-type guitar here. I think it's a good choice for this video because you can hear it both with a humbucker and single coil. Then we are plugged in straight into the Duderino. From there, we are going to the wonderful UAFX Dream 65 because first of all, it's a great amp, and second of all, it takes pedals really, really well. From the UAFX, we are going straight into my audio interface and recording this with Reaper. Just two quick things before we listen to the sounds. Yes, Hubcap John did send me these 4 pedals to review, but all of the thoughts are just mine. Second of all, as usual with my videos, there's no messing about post. These are the sounds that come out from the pedal or the gear. I do not want to modify them, making them sound better, worse. It is what it is. So there's no monkey business. Okay guys, I've got my earphones on and we are ready to go. So this is our bass sound with the UAFX Dream 65. As you can tell, low gain, not too clean, because who likes really clean cleans? No one does. Just a nice Fender amp sound. So I think what we should do is just really start with the Duderino side first, with the dials more or less in the middle, and then just play around with it and see what sounds we can get. Off. Okay, so let's start playing around with the controls and see. If we move to the humbucker, check this out. So already you can see in those samples that at the beginning it was full on, nice and overdriven, so that mid-range overdrive, not super heavy, but nice and overdriven, a bit fuzzy around the edges, which is kind of that vintage super sound. And then when you roll down your volume, you kind of tailor it accordingly. You can also get a really cool low gain sound, very Hendrixy, very, very cool. Let's also check out those diode settings. Really subtle, but it's there. It kind of distorts differently. It's a really cool option to have according to what your needs are for a specific song, track, whatever, or what you generally prefer. Now let's move on to where all the fun happens, the Walter side. So let's start just by taking the octave up to 0, so we're not blending it in at all. Same setting as before on the Duderino side, and let's see. So as you can tell, now you have the El Duderino feeding into the water, which is a really transparent kind of overdrive boost. But what that does is that it brings it to a completely new level. It's almost fuzzy, it's uncontrollable, super, super cool. And if you just want to do that for, say, a solo, you kick it in and then you have that extra little bit of volume and sustain. What this really sounds to me is a amp that's completely on the verge of blowing up. The speakers are just giving up, it's farting all over the place, and it just sounds so bloody good. If that's the kind of sound that you like, I do. So what we need to do now is blend in some of that octave up. Having the ability to blend in that octave up sound is incredibly useful because octave up is quite a harsh sound and there is definitely a sweet spot there. You can tell that you have a nice range of building up to that full octave sound, and it almost adds sustain to the note, so it just goes on forever. This is something that you need to experiment with. There's no strict rules. It's what sounds best to you. And that's why it gives you the ability to kind of tailor it to your own ears. But now, my friends, it's time to let good old El Duderino go and plug in pedal number 2. And this one looks mean. You know how I said most of his pedals have really cool graphics on them? Well, this one doesn't. And I maybe like it even more. It's very, very sleek. This one is a Sundial modified fuzz face. As you can see, very simple layout as well in terms of controls. But what it does have is an input cap switch up here. As with the previous pedal, very solid construction, really good quality components, a 9-volt wall plug, and really that's about it. It's just sleek and mean. So I think, especially with this one, we just need to plug in and hope for the best. Just to remind you, this is the clean sound of the Dream 65. Let's turn this on. So in these current settings, it actually cleans up really, really nicely, which is a problem I always have with fuzz, especially fuzz faces. They just do one thing, but here it sounds really very sweet. Let's try the different input caps. Ooh. was the middle. The addition of the switch at the top with the different input caps has a real dramatic effect on the sound, and again is very, very handy if you want to tailor it, and it gives you, on a very simple pedal, loads of different sounds. So now I think we need to get a little fuzz crazy. Let's put it up a little bit. A lot of range there in terms of the fuzz, and again you can just modify that with the input cap. Although I could play these two pedals forever, what we're going to do now is start wrapping this up, and we'll do a combined review of these two pedals. So we will talk about pros and cons, if any, who should buy these pedals, and, as always, finish up with my final thoughts. It's time for our pros and cons, and I think it's only fair if we start with the El Duderino. My first pro has to be that you are getting so much more than a simple overdrive. What you have is an overdrive pedal, but it actually sounds more like an amp in a box. So you have that real vintage amp quality sounds coming through this. And I ran it through a fairly neutral kind of Fender tone on the Dream 65, and this really gave it a completely different flavor. It gave it a real amp response as well in terms of the feel. But not only that, you also get 3 different clipping methods. Then you have the second overdrive on the Volter side. But not only that, you also then on top of that also have the octave up. That is a lot of stuff in a very small pedal that fits easily on your board. My second pro has to be the quality of the sounds and the range of the pedal. You can hear that all the right components were used. There is nothing artificial about this. This is done like the originals were done, so you capture that great sound quality, but with modifications that makes it so versatile, from very transparent overdrive to a full-blown fuzzy heaven, and it sounds just very good. My third and last pro is that this actually is an instrument. It's an integral part to the sound. So you should use it not just as a pedal, but also as a tool to achieve the sounds in your head. And I absolutely love that feeling. And I only get it with really great pedals where the pedal actually kind of wants you to experiment and mess around with the setting. It doesn't have barriers, whether it only sounds good in this place, it only sounds good in that place. No, the whole point of pedals like these is that you need to experiment. It may sound ugly to some, it may sound good to others, but that's the kind of beauty of it. It's not in a box, it's its own kind of world, and it's an integral part to whatever sound you're making, just as much as the guitar and the amp. And the Dude definitely has plenty of that. Now let's move to the cons, if there are any. Look, I'm going to keep this very short. Personally, I have no cons with it. I guess as all great pedals, some people will get it because that's what they like, and some people won't because that's not what they like. It doesn't mean it's good or bad, but it just is what it is. And now let's move on to this Black Beauty. Pros, again, the sound quality for me is absolutely stellar. I personally have some slight issues with some fuzz phases. I find them a bit limiting in some of the things they do. This, absolutely not. Second pro, I've got to say the way it cleans up. It cleans up very, very sweetly, and it doesn't cover the sound of whatever guitar you're playing. So it is still transparent. My third pro has to be, I absolutely love the input cap switch. Very, very cool. It adds a completely different dimension. It comes in super handy with different guitars, with different kind of brightness levels. Very, very cool. It takes a pedal that is very simplistic, but adds an extra layer to it. And that is absolutely genius for me. Cons for this one, very much the same as the previous one. If you like that sound, you like that sound. If you don't, you'll never like that sound. It's unruly. It goes everywhere. You can't box it in. It is fluffy. It's flabby. It's fuzzy. It's all the F words. Sometimes it may sound ugly. And if that's not something that you like, if you don't want to fight with something to find that tone, then definitely look elsewhere. Now it's the eternal question. Are these pedals for you? Personally, I think if we take the fuzz, if you are looking for an equivalent of a fuzz face, but something with more versatility, something that is quality, will resist playing live, and is not just another clone of something, because this is based on but has its own personality. This would be a very good purchase. You're getting something that is hand-built. You are getting something that is made with love and attention and has been fine-tuned to get a finished product. In terms of the dude who should get this, well, I think this would be ideal if you have a cleanish combo amp. If you just want to add a vintage flavor to it, it's almost like adding another channel to your amp. Well, this is it. You get a lot of versatility there. You can use it as an overdrive. You can use it as a clean boost. You can use it as a octave. It just has everything. It adds so much versatility to a single channel amp if you have one of those, if you're recording at home or if you're playing live. This is a really versatile pedal that really covers you anywhere from blues to hard rock. That's about it. Time for my final thoughts. What do I think about these two pedals? Well, I think what Hubcap John does here is something very, very unique. He researches, he puts his own spin on things. He doesn't just clone something, and he puts a lot of care and attention both in the quality of the internal components and, as in most pedals, with the graphics. It just made it so much cooler for me, especially if you like the film. You will love this, but all his pedals have this kind of theme. You can tell that it's done just in a very inspiring way for the love of making these pedals and art generally, I guess. You may think, why hasn't he mentioned price yet? I haven't mentioned price because I didn't want to put it as one of the first things. Price, I find generally, is something that is very relevant for your commercial products. These are handmade. These are made using very specific components, only the best components. So I bet now you're thinking, he's going to say they cost tons. Well, you know what? They actually don't. I think currently the dude is about 200 bucks. Let's just say they all kind of are about the 200 mark. You know what? I honestly do not see any reason why, if you're into the sounds of either of these pedals, you go for a kind of commercial pedal. Absolutely doesn't make sense to me. This is a steal. This is a really, really good price for something that will last you ages. And you know what? Potentially, you won't sound like other people because this is unique. So I think really that sums up my final thoughts. If you want to stand out in a kind of grey world and you want to sound different with joy, happiness, and kind of find inspiration in the tools that you're using, then you can't go wrong with these pedals. So just to remind you, we have 2 more Hubcap John pedals to review, and trust me, those are amazing. So stay tuned on this channel. I really thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. And as always, drop me a comment. Let me know your opinion on this. Why would you get just a commercial product that in any case is going to cost you slightly less, but not that much less, when you can get yourself a handmade product, and at the same time, you're supporting small businesses and you're supporting the creative aspect of the industry? So that's my question to you. Let me know. As always, guys, please, please, please play guitar, be nice to each other, enjoy your life. It's a wonderful world, and thank you so much for watching. See you soon.